What up, guys? Welcome to Base Damage, and as you can see by both the playmat, the top card, and the title of this video, this is totally going to be a deck all about RAM. No, for real though. Going to be trying to work on a little different video format today, obviously. I finally got to test play this deck. Basically wanting to kind of go over a deck discussion, not so much, like also deck profile, obviously, because this is what I've tested over the past weekend. And this is kind of me, obviously, like I said, messing around with a little bit of the format of the video, as well as just trying to figure out what feels and works better for videos on the channel. But I wanted to kind of have like a discussion, because I'm gonna do obviously showing what I've been using in this deck, but then I'm going to go over a whole bunch of other cards that I want to mess with, as far as like for the set, for this deck in particular, messing around with red, blue, ram, etc. So first part of this is going to be the main deck profile, going to be kind of quick, and the last half of it is going to be kind of like sharing my thoughts on both this deck and some other cards I want to mess with, as well as my choices behind it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this. So this deck actually took me a while to actually post, because I was not happy with the level 1 lineup for fuck ever. I just was not happy with how it's set up. And with the release of Volume 2 in English, I found my answers to that. Which is why I said this is also very much, jokingly said, this is a video about RAM, because there were some really good RAM cards and whatnot that just really helped this deck so much. And honestly, there's a lot of good RAM card effects, and for both Rim and RAM. So, and this is just Rim and RAM, particularly because there are effects in here that only work with them, or like a Roswell or a Subaru. So I tried to make it based theme, obviously, because Maids. Why the fuck not? Because Maids. But definitely wanted to see how well those effects that worked only with them, how well they synergized, how well they played off and whatnot. And there's some other cards like that, and like I said, we'll get to that in the discussion. But let's go ahead and start off with the zero. So this entire deck is red-blue. This is one of the new cards from the set, from Volume 2. Global 500 to all Rim or RAM. If I accidentally don't say like a Subaru effect or a Roswell in there, forgive me. Just kind of autocorrect where you see it. But the primary thing is Ram. So Global 500, and you can tap her to give another one of your characters 500 power till end of turn. Really good. You know, obviously got to do a little pump, especially because your level 1 combo, as good as it is, does rely on reversing the battle opponent, but it is a very, very good climax combo. So 2 copies of this RAM brainstormer. It has some weird effect to do with Subaru, but it also, well, in addition to being brainstorm, I do run 1 copy of a card that it bonds with. It bonds with this level 2. On play, you can pitch a card, grab back this from the waiting room. So, and this is fuck it, we'll go ahead and mention this one. I don't care. This is a anti-change reverser. It has a climax combo, but we don't use it in this deck. I did test it out in another version of this, and I didn't like it as much. It wasn't bad, I just didn't like it as much. But it is a anti-change reverser. Forgive me. It's a bottom deck reverser. Let me for anti-change. So it's actually really cool, and the fact that it bonds with that is just kind of random, but cool at the same time. It's a brainstorm, pay 1, tap her for every climax, salvage 1. Mill 4 for every climax, salvage 1. 3 copies of In the Words of Devlock, Kitty on the head. But this is really cool. I want to make certain that I get the wording of this correctly for her second effect. But her first effect is when this card is placed on stage from hand, pay 1, deal yourself a damage from the top of the deck. Search your deck for a level 1 or lower character, which is good to get the RAM level 1 that you need to start off your climax combo at level 1 engine. But okay, so the second effect, when this attacks, you can mill the top card of your deck. If it is a climax, draw a card, and then discard 1 card. So, really good hand filtering there. Try to get through the deck a little bit more. This has been just amazing. This card right here has just been amazing. It is a zero reverser, but it also has an act where you can sack it and discard one card to salvage back a card from your waiting room. So this can actually be really good as far as like a frontliner, and then just as far as your opponent's probably not going to run into it if they don't RTFC and read the second effect. But most definitely good for being able to get back. Like, I've used this so much just to grab the level 3 Rem for setting up my early play for that, and it's just really cool. I gotta have a beat stick. 2 copies of this oversized. Just while she's on the field, you can't use backup or events from hand, but she's a 004K. And only 2 copies of this because that's all I own. On play, top check, if it's a magic or weapon, she gets 1500 power and a level. So get over the reversers really easy, really awesome in that regard. It can become a 35 at that point, and if you have this on the field, 45 with tap effects and everything, really good. But her other effects, you don't have to have the buff for this, but when her battle opponent becomes reversed, you can rest one of your other characters and move it to the backstage, open position of the backstage. That is it for the zeros, but this has been really, really interesting utility and setup for a lot of this. I do have other brainstormers and whatnot that I'm wanting to test out, and we'll get more into those a bit later, but definitely going to be testing out some stuff with this because I'm very much enjoying this deck. Let's go ahead and get right into the level 1 combo. I got to get the climax. First, this level 1 4500 Ram is your engine of the deck, and it is really fun. Combos with as the older sister. Basically, if all your characters have Rim or Ram, she gets 1000 power, so she's a constant 55. So it's like she's like a level 1 vanilla with a climax combo. It's pretty cool. With no real drawbacks in this deck. But when her battle opponent becomes reversed, if you have the climax, pay 1, and all your characters are Rim or Ram, choose up to 2 characters in your waiting room with Rim or Ram in name and return them to your hand. So this is one of those that is only based off of Rim and Ram, and it ends up working really well. And I very much enjoyed being able to plus like that. Sure, you have to reverse, and sure, you have to pay a stock, but this kind of mitigates that because you pay 1 stock, or this is a red stock, and everybody gets a soul. And where she's already kind of big, it kind of is whatever. I would like to be able to make have an engine that let me get a little bit bigger, but I'm still working on that. So, but I very much like this. There is a new level 1 Ram that I don't have. It's from the new set, but I do not have it just yet. But it's actually very cheap. I'm probably going to end up picking it up. But it's an on-reverse salvager, no cost, and she gets actually pretty big. So I'm going to end up grabbing those and testing those out, but that is it for that effect. So I'm trying to go through this a little quick, but it is a little difficult because I do like to discuss this stuff. 2 copies of this 105K Rim. She has a change effect. I was going to work with that. I think I actually have a copy of it on me right now. Let me double check. I do not have a copy of it on me at this moment. But it's another, it's like a 0 cost reverser. And it's actually really cool. But so you just use her for her first effect. So first off, she can't side attack, but that's whatever. But on play, if all of your characters... if you have another magic or weapon character, she gets a 2K. So for 1 turn, she's a 107K. That's pretty fucking cool. Then you have 2 copies of this backup Ram. It's a 1K backup, but then if all your characters are Ram, you can give another 1000. So free 2K backup, can't go wrong there. Took a bit to get copies of this promo. Thank you, Moroku, for helping me with my playset. As a 1/155, she gets 500 power for each of your other magic or weapon characters, making her, with a full field, a 1/175 with a character encore. You really can't go wrong there, and I very much have enjoyed that. This is the card that kind of saved the level 1 lineup. I wanted to primarily focus on dropping reds with still having a little bit of blue just in case, but this is what made it. So if all of your characters have Rim or Ram, she gets 2K power, just constant. So she's a 104K, but then she becomes a 6K, just constant. And if you have this specific name, Rem, Honest Smile Rem, on the field, when she attacks, you can give another character 2k. So that's actually an amazing, like, kind of pseudo combo for being able to make this Ram get pretty big. So where this is going to be like, with this on the field, she's going to be a 6/5 in general. You are going to make this, if you do your tap effect, this will also be about a 6/5 with the Global 500 buff. And then you can swing with this first, give her another 2k, and make her an 8/5. So it's going to be easier. Like I said, I know I wanted to work with a climax combo that is already bigger to begin with, but this does help mitigate that in that regard. But if it was with another good climax combo that's even bigger, I could still make that even bigger than 8/5. So that's pretty fun and cool. But that is it for the level 1s. And like I said, this Ram right here, I'm not kidding, saved like this entire deck. I'm not kidding when I say that. I know that probably sounds like an exaggeration, but it's really not. And it's going to help me with like further deck profiles for this, especially if I kind of work on Ram being the center of the level 1 engines. Obviously, I guess I already stated this, we run 1 copy of her, so we'll jump right into the other 2s, which is 3 copies of Demon's Demeanor. Rem is a 2/2, 14,000. You are not reading that wrong. 2 soul. While she's on the stage, she gets Oni as a trait, whatever. When she attacks, if... I thought it was right there. If Oni smile... Look how sweet that is. This is a wall of text, so forgive me, I'm having to read this to make certain I say it exact. When she attacks, if you got Oni's Smile, reveal the top card of your deck. If it is a Ram, or Subaru, you can choose a level 3 or lower character on your opponent's backstage and put it on the bottom of their deck. So, being able to get rid of big buffers. If you've ever seen, it was a level 3 Asuna support back row. There's a really powerful Arisa back row for Bang Dream. There's a lot of just good back row supports that can just screw over a lot of your shenanigans. And this just states, fuck that. Fuck you and all you stand for. So, at the beginning of your encore step, she dies. Like, you have to send her to the waiting room at the beginning of your encore step. However, when she is put into your waiting room from the stage, if you have another Ram on the field, you can pay the cost, which is do yourself a damage from the top of the deck, and discard 1 card. If you do, choose a modest request Rim and put it on to any position of your stage as rested. So you're able to get this out. And this is actually, a really big assist. So we'll get to that in just a second. We'll actually start off with her first when we go to the level 3s now. So 2 copies of Modest Request Rim. Once again, wall of text, forgive me. All of your characters in front of this with Rim or Ram get 2,000 power and hexproof. That's a fucking constant, which is amazing. I'm just going to go ahead and throw her out here. When you have this early play on the field and you're able to go ahead and get this, that is amazing to stop like some hexproof shenanigans and all that jazz. So, when this is placed on stage from your hand or by the effect of the level 2, draw 2 cards, pitch 2 cards, and you can blind stock 1. And her climax combo, also with Oni Smile, forgive me. I'm just going to drop that right there. Her climax combo with Oni Smile as well. So you got 2 combos off of that, which is pretty cool. At the end of your turn, you can discard a character and sack the Oni Smile from the waiting room, from climax area to waiting room. And if you do, return the top card of your clock to your hand. So you do get back a little bit of stuff in your hand. So that is cool. So then 2 copies of this early play Ram. If your number of climaxes in your waiting room is 2 or less, you can she gets minus a level in hand, so you can play her at level 2. Heals on play, and every time her battle opponent becomes reversed, she gets a marker from the waiting room. You can choose any character from your waiting room and put it under her as a marker. And for every marker, she gets 1,000 power. Can't go wrong there. 1 copy of this Rem. This is from the trial deck. This is actually pretty fucking good. On play, draw 2, pitch 1. Can't go wrong there. On attack, pay 1, pitch 1. Reveal the top 5 cards of your deck. For every climax, burn your opponent for that many. So, pretty fucking cool. And to round out the finishers, I'll say, is 3 copies of this Rem and Ram in the bath. It is adorable. As long as you have just Rem, Ram, or Roswell, she gets 1,000 power. When she attacks, reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a Rem or Ram, deal damage to your opponent equal to that character's level. So The entire deck is that, as long as I don't hit a climax. Doing some burn damage for free. That's fucking amazing. When this card's battle opponent becomes reversed, you may pay the cost of 1 stock. If you do, choose a card in your opponent's waiting room and put it on top of his or her deck. So if you get multiples of them, you can get some multiple burn shenanigans off with both of these. So half of your level 3s is burn shenanigans, which is really fucking cool. And that is it for the level 3s. That's 8. I'm wanting to work with some ratios and test out some stuff for that as well. But you'll see that in a sec. Climaxes, we have 4 copies of Oni's Smile and 4 copies of As the Older Sister. I kind of wanted to split this deck as evenly as possible between Rim and Ram. And this ended up working out pretty well. But there are some other good cards for this that I'm working on and trying to mess with. I have gotten my playset of this level 3 Ram at combos with this 1K1 salvage trigger. This was pointed out to me by another member of the group that this was actually pretty cool when the set 1 was just being released. When it's placed on stage from hand, you can look at the top 3 cards of your deck, add any card amongst them to your hand, put the rest in your waiting room. When this climax is played, Subaru Natsuki's Decoy Tactic, and this is in your center stage, choose up to 2 cards in your opponent's waiting room. Return it to your opponent's deck. Your opponent shuffles their deck, and this gets 3,000 power to end of turn. So that's a really big buff to begin with. So if you play the climax, she's going to be a 10-5. She's going to be a 13-5 before anything else just off of her effect. So we'll get to the last effect in just a second. The big thing for this is it decompresses your opponent. It's not the most damaging thing in the world. Like, the goal is drop 3 of this and send 6 cards back into your opponent's deck. It decompresses them, 6 non-climax cards, I should say. It decompresses your opponent and makes it so you have a better chance of dealing damage, and they have a chance of canceling less. The last effect is, when this card attacks, you can pay 2, pitch 1 if you do attempt to burn your opponent for 1. So this is going to be the next iteration of the, as far as like finishers, and I got to work on ratios for that, because I'm going to end up just like messing with stuff and trying to get all that squared away. But this is just another really fun finisher, and another one that I'm working on. I just need to get more copies of, and see, there's also this level 3 Ram, but this is the other Ram that I wanted to work on. This is a really cool restander. We'll talk about this one first. So, during your turn, if all your characters have Rim Ram, once again, the whole Rim, like just Rim Ram, it just has some very interesting effects, and this is one of them for 2 of it. During your turn, this gets 2k if you just have Rim Ram. The same, top check effect. Look at the top 3, grab a card, and at the end of this card's attack, if World's #1 hero, which is a pants trigger, that's one reason why I want to use it the most. If you have that in the climax area, all of your characters are Rim or Ram. You can pay 3, pitch a Rim or Ram, and if you do, stand this card, and it gets 2,000 power till end of turn. I usually don't like restanders, because restanders are always like, oh, on reverse of the battle opponent, pay this stupid cost, or if you're like fucking Fate Apocrypha, sorry for the bell in the background, if you are Amakusa Shiro, it's, oh, pitch this specifically named character, and I didn't like that. This, you do pitch just Ram or Ram, however, you don't have to reverse. It's just at the end of the card's attack, so even if you ram with her, bad puns, I know. Even if you suicide with her, it doesn't matter. As long as she doesn't get removed from the field. I know there's ways of doing that, so you have to watch out for that. But as long as she doesn't get taken off the field, you can still pay this cost and do it again, which is honestly really good. The fact that you have to pitch specifically a Rim or Ram is perfectly fine in a deck that's all Rim and Ram. And she's actually very cheap. I think she's only down to about $4 or $5 a piece now, so I'm going to be getting a playset of this to muck with. This actually also intrigued me. If you have 2 or more weapon magic, easy, it's the entire fucking deck. She gets 1,000 power, so she's constantly a 10-5. On play, draw 2, pitch 1. And when this card attacks, if Invasion of Witch Cult is in your climax area, you can pay 1, pitch 1, look at up to 4 cards from the top of your opponent's deck. Choose up to 4 cards from among them, put them into your opponent's waiting room. Then return the rest of them to your opponent's deck, and your opponent shuffles his or her deck. It's one of those effects that helps you try to dig in the top couple cards of your opponent's deck and get rid of climaxes for a fairly cheap cost. I have to look at what the Invasion of Witch Cult is. It's not a 1K1, it's something else. I don't remember if it was like a red stock soul or something. But it was kind of funky, and it was the only real deterrent from me like immediately wanting to jump to this instead of this. Because I actually really like that effect, and I'm mucking with that for Revue Starlight. But it was a really funky climax thing, and it was a double crit trigger, so I'm kind of on the fence about that. But definitely, honestly, just interesting finishers all around. Let's be real here. This is, like, I don't care if you don't care for Rim Ram. I don't care if you don't like ReZero. This has an interesting, like, just array of finishers. And I'm fairly satisfied with the level 1 engine. I'm going to pick up that level 1 Ram. As far as other engines go, even if I kind of dipped away from the just Rim Ram, I only have 2 copies of the level 1 Amelia. I still need 2 more copies, so I really haven't mucked with that at all. So that's the only thing keeping me from really jumping right into this as well, because this is an amazingly good level 1 combo, let's be real. But for things that say, just Rim Ram, just this or that, there's some interesting effects that I want to mess with more. But that's kind of the discussion portion of it, but this is definitely going to get worked on, and we're going to definitely be having some fun with this. I really just got to get more copies of some cards. But anyway, thank y'all very much for watching and hearing me rant. It is greatly appreciated. We will see y'all again on the flip side. Peace out for now.